And this quote is from who? I didn't write it down. Eric Weiss, I believe. Eric Weiss. One of the two. The man who orange pilled Michael Saylor. This is a quote from him on Twitter. It says, there are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. And I had to read that a couple times, and I even wrote it down wrong. That's how much I had to look into that one. There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. And I have a feeling that this is going to be one of those weeks. Things are lining up. We've seen some movement in the price, but we know that that's not a main driver in life. But it's a Bitcoin conference this week. And maybe I'll just pull up the lineup here because I was thinking about this in the shower today, like I usually do. Bitcoin conference. But I want to show you this lineup. Excuse me. I want to show you this lineup for Nashville this weekend. Let me bring it up. I saw that David Bailey got suspended on Twitter. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, but anyways, it doesn't really matter. It's just one person. But he's the, I guess, the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine who puts on this. What's going on? There we go. Okay, so check out this lineup. Okay, there's one. I don't know if you've heard of that guy or not, but he's speaking this weekend at Bitcoin Nashville. We got RFK, we got Kathy Wood, Michael Saylor, Russell Brand, Edward Snowden, Bill Miller, IV. IV. The crazy thing about that, so I meant to say Bill Miller the fourth. Is it the fourth? Yeah, Bill Miller the fourth. It's quite the name. He's a Miller Value Partner, chairman and CIO. But the funny thing about that is, like, I'm just so used to seeing such crazy names between YouTube, between Noster, between just Bitcoiners in general. A lot of people just go by like a NIM, anonymous. So I didn't even think, like, that's just the world that I'm immersed in right now. Is you never know what kind of name you're going to see. But anyways, that lineup there, imagine 5 or 6 years ago, or I mean, we could probably look back here and see who's been the speakers at these conferences. But 5 or 6 years ago, you would have looked at a Bitcoin conference and you would have not known one person speaking there. And I'm thinking most people have heard of every person on there. Even non-Bitcoiners would hear of majority of those people, which to me suggests that Bitcoin has gone mainstream. To me, the price hasn't caught up yet, but to me, Bitcoin has officially gone mainstream based on that lineup alone. And we talk about the S curve, the adoption curve here on the show all the time, and how, it starts very low and then it pretty much goes straight up and then it flattens out. That's kind of like the S curve of adoption for any new technologies. And I think for the most part, we would almost be in the part where we're starting to climb the spike up, straight up. I think for the most part we'd be there, but this is different. This is different because if you think about, let's use the iPhone as an example. It would have went through the exact same S curve as that. And when, you had Donald Trump, when it went mainstream, everybody had an iPhone. That's kind of where it peaks, right? There's so much demand. They're having a hard time keeping up with supply, but then it flatlines after. And to me, I'm not sure how far away we are from Bitcoin flatlining. And it's because it's not a technology. It's a whole shift in the paradigm. And I think that, and it also has a fixed supply. So when you get to that point on the S curve, that's when things start being produced at a mass level for very cheap. They charge a bunch. That's where they make all their money there, in that part of the S curve. But with Bitcoin, it's different because there's a fixed supply. They cannot just create new Bitcoin. They cannot keep up with the demand. with Bitcoin. So I think that this whole thing that's happening here is not just a technology, it's a whole shift in how we think about everything. And the implications of that, I think, are unknown at this point. But it's gone mainstream. Every single person on earth pretty much knows Bitcoin anyways. They don't understand it or know really what it is or does, but most people have heard of it. And so I think that this is going to be the biggest week in Bitcoin's history for that reason.